Hey everybody, gaming is still going through it. In the last video we covered Compulsion's downfall and we noted how complicated things have been in the gaming landscape because there's so many games to look forward to, while at the same time other studios are getting mass layoffs, being sold out or undergoing massive changes. That has continued with even more chaotic news recently, especially at Bethesda, which underwent significant layoffs and just now had to abdicate of their full control over Fallout so that Obsidian can make a Fallout game too. And if that succeeds, we might even see other studios within Xbox take a crack at the IP too. Bethesda put out a statement that makes this look like, oh no, yeah guys, it was totally our idea, and yeah, we were planning on it already because we love Obsidian. But it's all optics and cope. Anyone that delves into the true history between Bethesda and Obsidian, especially as it pertains to Fallout, will know that Bethesda didn't want to share that game with anyone else. Especially not Obsidian, and especially not now.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Seems bad.
Huh?
Very good.
Yeah. And yours? You did that?
Yeah, just this morning.
Cough.
What?
You did not paint that this morning.
Yes, I did.
You did not paint that this morning.
I did.
I don't believe you.
You drew the pineapple.
My pineapple is shit.
No, truly, the way of Bethesda is they're perfectly fine making you wait for an Elder Scrolls sequel for well over 15 years, so they'd be perfectly fine with making you wait for a Fallout sequel for 20. While in the meantime releasing more Creation Club garbage, maybe another mobile game, or maybe another little online component thing, and pretending like that counts. This was likely a decision by Asha Sharma and the new attitude that she's bringing to Xbox, where things are actually getting done. I may not like everything that she has been saying that she stands for, but this has undoubtedly been a good thing. But Des, why would you be excited for Asha Sharma's layoffs? Well fellas, because some layoffs are necessary. I'm not crazy, I don't relish in the suffering of people, but I'm also a customer. So, you know, if I go to the local supermarket because I want to buy my favorite brand of Cocoa Puffs, and they don't have any because the workers over there can't make or stock any goddamn cereal, I'm going to crash out. It's as simple as that. But anyway, back to the topic. The title of that last video was Why Gamers Don't Care About Mass Layoffs or Studio Shutdowns. Then, shortly after, Bethesda gets served a round of layoffs and takes to the streets to protest against it. The media covered it, but again, nobody cared. So today, we're gonna dive into that because I'm pretty sure you haven't even seen the pictures that I'm about to show you. Because again, you probably didn't care. And then we'll continue with a bit of history and wrap it all in a nice pretty package. So let's get in there. Going through the photographs of this protest only makes things worse. I'm not even going to set it up, I'm just going to show it to you. Let's start with this one.
What are those?
They are my Crocs.
It's the mainframe. Got this lady here in pink pants holding up a sign saying, "Choices matter." And it's like, what do you mean? You work at Bethesda. Choices clearly don't matter in their game. Okay, no, but seriously, the protests show such a disconnect between devs and gamers, and maybe even devs and reality. Just look at these signs. Devs before dollars. Bro, you need the dollars before you can pay the devs. If the devs aren't producing the dollars, then there's not even a point for them to be around. And again, this will be a mix of voicing serious concerns throughout this video, but in a chill way. Like, I don't want to be too heartless or whatever, but the truth has to be spoken. Bethesda hasn't been doing shit. They have scores of developers, and at some point, you've got to wonder what they're doing. At some point, the very people who run these companies have to ask themselves if they're running a game studio or an adult daycare center. Over here we got a sign in the back going, "Our players deserve better." And you know what? I couldn't agree more. I think we deserve some better developers. Some better leads too. See, the thing that I don't like about these types of protests are how performative they are. Most of these signs are all about cursing Microsoft, which is easy. It's the big, bad, and totally faceless trillion-dollar company. And I won't lie to you fellas, I have no love lost for Microsoft. If you are a regular subscriber to the channel, first of all, based, anyone watching should definitely subscribe to support independent, unsponsored channels like this that give it to you straight no matter what it is. But also, second of all, you know that I criticize Microsoft all the time. Sony and Nintendo too. This isn't one of those "we must defend the billion-dollar company" channels at all. But I hate how one-sided these things are because they place zero blame on the people making the games. Again, it's as if Microsoft just has to take all their money and keep funding these adult daycare centers posing as game studios that are 15 years off from the last Elder Scrolls game, and if left to their own devices will have 20 years between Fallout 4 and Fallout 5. And I'm sorry fellas, but something is wrong here, and it's not Microsoft. So yeah, we players do deserve better. And that's precisely why gamers don't care about these layoffs in particular. And later in this video, in the next section going through Obsidian's history, timestamps in the description by the way, I'm going to be giving you an example of when gamers deeply cared about some layoffs, to the point of funding an entire new game. But that's later, and that has nothing to do with what's going on right now. We're able to see the bloat, we're able to see the incompetence. That's why people don't care. It's not because they're heartless, it's because there's no goddamn Cocoa Puffs at the supermarket. Look at this one here. No devs, no games. My dudes, 15 years. 15! From the last Elder Scrolls, 11 and counting from the last Fallout. Even while you have devs, you still make no games. In fact, when you had less devs, you made more games. Ah, but Des, what about Starfield? Starfield was 8 years away from Fallout 4, and guys, I'll be real, fine, I'll play it again. I tried it via Game Pass back in 2023 when it came out. It was the first Bethesda game that I abandoned without finishing because I was that bored. But fine, I'll return to it and I'll give it a second chance with all the updates and stuff, and then I'll even update you with maybe a video or two, unless I abandon it again from boredom. But even if this was a prime Bethesda game, which it clearly isn't because even Bethesda fans are spending more time in their older games than in Starfield, it still doesn't excuse how it can take these people nearly a full decade to put out a game that is hardly any goddamn different from their previous ones. Nearly a full decade for this makes me wonder how much more time Bethesda would need to make a game that truly feels new, a game in a new engine. The fucking name would have to just be called Field, because by then we'll already be exploring the stars. People over profits. It's a nice slogan, and ideally to an extent I would even agree with this. A big boogeyman of the games industry is actually unchecked, infinite growing, greed-driven profits for out-of-touch executives and investors who are not gamers and aren't satisfied with making a simple profit. And so they crank out monetization garbage, they shift to live services hoping to be the next Fortnite, and they corporatize their studios as they chase even more profits from as many sources as possible. Again, they're not gamers, they just want to leech off of the gaming audience as much as possible. And the big part of this is actually why some of these developers got hired in the first place. It was through wasting money turning simple game studios into whole corporatized campuses that look like holiday resorts, opening new departments that nobody knows why they exist or what the hell they're for. All that we really know is that they have nothing to do with the f***ing games being made. Like for example, Square Enix has an ethics department. It was founded back in 2019. Why the f*** is it even there? What are they doing? It's just fake jobs on a payroll that don't contribute anything positive towards the games. Just trash. Trash that they make up that shouldn't be in a video game and should be removed or altered or added. And so that's why I only agree with this to an extent. And currently Bethesda isn't at that extent because again, they got no games. Many of these companies don't. And they got way too many people working there that are just extra weight. They're bringing the helicopter down, so they gotta go. Ah, but Des, how can you say that Bethesda has no games? They just announced a new update for Fallout 76.
Shut your f***ing mouth! Shut the f*** up, you c***!
This one was really good. Don't test these testers! Fellas, I'm just gonna say this once. If you are a tester at Bethesda, you need to shut up, okay? we got a dude pro in a full getup, black robes, holding up two signs. Number 1, remember Elder Scrolls 4, you do not want to summon the Prince of Revolution. That's Mehrunes Dagon, by the way, the villain of the Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion. Okay, and number 2, this is not what I mantled Akatosh for. Alright, listen. I'm gonna give this guy some grace because he's actually into the Elder Scrolls. Like, you can tell that he loves it, and goddammit, I love it too. He's literally wearing some black robes with the Amulet of Kings, and his signs are thematic. You get points for that one, but you gotta stop this, man. You can't just do this, brother. The last Elder Scrolls game was in 2011. 2011, dude. I bet this guy didn't even have facial hair back then. I sure didn't. We need the Prince of Revolution back at this point. Like, we need something, you know? We need the Princess of Revolution. If that's what Asha Sharma can mantle, then there you go. Because we got nothing. Bethesda put Skyrim out, and then ZeniMax went and got the Elder Scrolls Online going, which I tried, and good God, did I try to love it. I wanted so much to love it so that I could have more Elder Scrolls, but I couldn't. I hated it. It's not real Elder Scrolls, it's just more online slop. Bethesda did that and left the building. Elder Scrolls 6 is still far away, and by the way, fellas, after these layoffs, the developer said, oh well, now what are we gonna do? With these layoffs, it's just going to delay the game even further. I'm serious, it's on screen. They cite how it impacts their morale and everything, so basically, Elder Scrolls 6 is still far away, and at this point, now, apparently, it's even further away. 20 years ago, a team of like 50 dudes could make a full-ass RPG with a budget of microwaved ramen noodles. Now you got 500 people, and nothing happens. Something needs to change, otherwise nobody's going to be mantling a damn thing anytime soon because there's no games. All there is shitty Creation Club content. Overpriced too. Better games need devs and testers, not more layoffs for investors. Where are the games, Bradley? A nice sign, it even rhymes, but at this point you had fully stacked teams for years, and nothing changed. If anything, the games got worse and the development times got longer. Doesn't matter if you get bought out by Xbox, doesn't matter if the morale is up, doesn't matter if you strike a deal with Amazon for a TV show, nothing happens. So I don't know. Maybe we do need to force some changes, like some layoffs and handing the Fallout IP to another team that can actually deliver us a Fallout game before we die of old age while waiting for Bethesda. Because for years, Phil Spencer's attitude was to be hands-off and let the studios do their thing. The mentality was, these are great studios, they're competent, they're talented, let's buy them, let's fund them, and let them craft exclusives for us. It obviously didn't work. Instead, this is what happened. Phil would pick up his phone and it'll be like, hey Bill, how's it going over at Compulsion? What you got going for us, huh? What's that? You're making what? A mid-platforming game and you're going to need $100 million and like 7 years to make it? And you're also hiring unhinged activists to work on the game, which I'll have to pay for too? Oh, and they made posts antagonizing their own fanbase? Huh, well, sounds good to me, Bill. I'll see you at the company barbecue later in the weekend. And that was it. That's been Xbox's management all these years, and that's why shit needs to change, even more than what Asha is doing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If she really wants to make Xbox again, she's going to need to burn this soy boy politically correct nonsense culture that latched itself onto their brand, that invited destructive garbage that is antithetical to game development, such as this list that their own employees posted, which is more concerned with making sure that they don't put anything too edgy or too violent or too offensive in their video games. Because until this is done, until all this is rooted out, it doesn't matter if it's Asha Sharma, Phil Spencer, or fucking Albus Dumbledore commanding Xbox. But I'll be good faith and give her time to cook. Now let's dive into Bethesda and Obsidian's history, just the way that we dived into Compulsion's history in that last video. About a week ago, a game director from Obsidian responded to criticism from people complaining that the studio isn't what it used to be. He noted that it's unrealistic to expect any studio to stay exactly the same over 2 decades, that while yes, things have changed, the studio's core identity remains intact. The DNA is the same as it always was. He also pushed back against claims that all creators of the studio's classic RPGs have left, reinforcing that there are still veterans at the studio who keep shaping current games. Now, of course, if you played any of Obsidian's older games, and then you played one of their newer games, specifically their RPGs, you can kind of tell that Obsidian hasn't really been the same for at least 10 years. At least. Some of the old guard might still be around, but that DNA has undoubtedly been impacted. Obsidian Entertainment was born in 2003 by a rogue band of boys who previously worked at Black Isle Studios, which was the studio that made Fallout 2 and technically also Fallout 1, given that much of the same developers ended up there. Between 2003 and 2010, these boys were busy cranking out RPGs that you could really sink your teeth into, including some games that are often hailed as classics, such as KOTOR 2, Neverwinter Nights 2, and of course, Fallout New Vegas. I think Alpha Protocol also came out around this time, which I bought recently on a sale, so I'm really looking forward to checking it out. Shortly after that, between 2011 and 2012, there was a game called Stormlands or something like that, which was being made for Xbox as a launch exclusive for the Xbox One. Then, Xbox pulled the plug on it and pretty much almost killed Obsidian. Don't get me wrong, the game was ambitious enough to be borderline insane. Maybe part of that made Xbox people nervous, but I mean, any new IP is a risk. It could have still made a very good game if only someone at Xbox had faith on it instead of whatever the hell they had faith in back then. I'll never forget Scalebound either, another great looking title that got axed, and instead, what did we get? Kinect games. Yay. Anyway, Obsidian was hit so heavily that they had to shift towards crowdfunding. They had to fire a bunch of developers back then, which funnily enough was only around 30 people, but it was still considered a mass layoff because of the amount of people that worked there. That's kind of another reason why gamers don't care so much about layoffs now. You know, these days. It's because studios used to have enough staff to make some damn games. Now they got like a metaphorical handful who make the games, and then like 200 more people just doing f*** all. Some of which don't even have jobs related to the games in development. Again, I bring up the Square Enix example, the ethics department. Why does it exist? Why is it necessary? Y'all know they don't need it to make games. They've never been needed. And the worst part is that sometimes you hear about layoffs and they don't always impact these departments in full, when they should. I mean, how many times have you heard about layoffs in these companies, but these departments still exist? You know what that means? That means that the people in it weren't laid off. Instead of getting rid of the useless garbage on the corner, they're getting rid of active developers. And this is the type of shit that should get eradicated from modern gaming, but instead here we are. But anyway, I'll shut up. It's fine. It's a chill Decembro video today, okay? I'm chill. Everything's fine. Anyway, Obsidian was shattered with the Stormlands situation, and it's actually sad. Like, you want me to care about layoffs? This is it right here. It was back in the days when studios did good work, actually put out good games, and actually worked efficiently. But uncaring higher-ups in big publishers or sad circumstances in the games industry rammed them off the road. This right here is a sad type of layoff. Now, these days, when studios make garbage and employ morons who hate gaming like what was shown in the last video, my sympathy meter just feels pretty empty. But anyway, with their dreams crushed and their team fragmented, Obsidian turned to crowdfunding. That's how Pillars of Eternity was born. Elements from Stormlands were repurposed into the pitch. They didn't even know exactly what the game would look like, they just had an idea and a bunch of resources from the cancelled Stormlands game that they could use. You know, story details, lore details, some assets that they already made, and so on and so forth. And besides that, they also knew that they wanted to pivot back to nice, solid, single-player CRPGs. No big, super ambitious AAA stuff. They also pitched the game with full blunt honesty. I'll see if I can find it and put it in a video, but if not, they pretty much looked straight into the camera and laid out how publishers had just cancelled their dream game, how nobody else was picking it up in the industry, and they were out of money. If they didn't get this project backed by crowdfunding, their studio was likely going to close down. And you know, fellas, if there's something that you can count on since like 15-20 years already, it's gamers being pissed off at all these corpo-first big publishers and all the shit that they pull. So their project got quite a lot of attention and Obsidian survived. Pillars of Eternity went on to do very well, serving as a massive financial lifesaver for the studio. Man, those were the days, huh? You wanna know how much it sold? So the game came out in March 2015. By the closing of 2015, it had sold around 500 to 600,000 units. That's it. If that was now, it would be considered a massive flop because of the budgets. Outer Worlds 2, for example, costs around $100 million to make. You make a game with this budget these days and you sell only about 500,000 copies in the first year, and I'm pretty sure that Xbox is going to send Mr. McMahon to your house to deliver the news.
Screw you! You're fired!
Anyway, Stormlands also went on to have elements of itself repurposed for the making of another RPG called Tyranny, which is another small but solid, very focused dark fantasy RPG where you play as a villainous enforcer in a conquered world. Something I remember being recommended by my buddies, but because I had an allergy to CRPGs back then, I never played it. I would love to give it a shot now though. Like, this is where Obsidian shined so well. It was nice small-scale RPGs, and while Avowed and Outer Worlds still do somewhat fit the bill when it comes to being small-scale, small, medium-scale RPGs, the problem is that they're missing the special sauce. Let me give you a practical example. You describe that game to me, and it's like, hey Des, do you want to play a game where it's dark fantasy and like there's this Dark Lord guy, right? Think of Sauron or something, but instead of you fighting the Dark Lord with your crew and going on adventures, you're actually cooked already. The Dark Lord already won, and so now you play as one of his enforcers, and your job is to travel to the last standing rebellious corners of the world and force the Dark Lord's will. Like, you get into a place and there's these factions and conflict going on inside them, and you are both the judge, jury, and executioner. You're the long dick of the Dark Lord's law and influence. Basically, here's the deal. There's a Dark Lord, you go around colonizing the last remaining pockets of resistance against your Dark Lord's might, and because the game is relatively small, your choices actually have big consequences that you can see, which also give replayability to the game. That's it, Des. That's the game. What do you say? And what I say is, let's go, my brother, point me to the nearest checkout so I can give you my credit card. But if instead you describe your game to me and it's like, hey, so you're an envoy from a distant land and you're coming to colonize this new indigenous island, but actually it's kind of presented in a really lame way. Everyone except for like a handful of characters speak in a really stupid cartoony way. There's modern writing, there's giant mushrooms, your body is tainted by a godlike's markings, which actually is kind of cool, but your godlike is a plant god or some shit, and so the markings on your body is basically big mushrooms growing out of your head. So yeah, there's also the choices, they suck, the writing is either weak or soy-pilled, and the world feels dead. Besides that, there's also a bunch of really obnoxious colors and particle effects. What do you say, Des? And well, you already know what I said, because I reviewed it last year and left my review abandoned near the end. I promise I will finish it sometime, fellas, but I won't lie, it's not easy to jump into games that I have zero interest in playing, and therein lies the issue with Obsidian and precisely why their DNA has definitely changed. They don't make games like Fallout New Vegas anymore. They don't make games like KOTOR 2 anymore either. Hell, they can't even make games like Tyranny anymore, and that one is only 10 years old. What happened to these fantastic ideas? What happened to the talent that created such interesting lore? It was lore that was created for Stormlands, and then from the Stormlands game was repurposed into 2 different franchises in very good ways. Then you play one of their new IPs like the Outer Worlds and the lore is dog shit. The rest of Obsidian's history from here on out is that they made Pillars 2. I don't know a lot about that one, so sorry about that. Then they made Outer Worlds 1, a game that I enjoyed well enough, but that didn't need a sequel. It was like a nice one-off concept that was basically a comedy game. The whole universe was built for it. That's why when you take Outer Worlds 2, right? Outer Worlds 2 took Outer Worlds 1's lore, obviously, right? It's the same franchise. But instead of this mentality of a one-off, comically driven game, they tried to expand it into a serious universe. Like something that could actually exist, something that actually has history and lore, and it's all broken, it's all terrible. Because none of it makes sense. There are no stakes, the characters are all stupid. What's that meme from Family Guy? It insists upon itself, Lois. It insists upon itself. Except in this, it's not even trying to insist upon itself in a posh, sophisticated, pretentious way. It's just trying to insist that its retarded microcosm of a universe for one game has enough depth to be a universe. And what happened? What did that result in? Dog shit. I don't mind developing on this in a future video focused on the Outer Worlds 2. That's another promise that I'm going to try to keep, okay? Though I do need to be watchful of how I make the videos. I don't think I should make them too long. I think people get bored and click out, which then tells the algorithm to not push the video. Such is my luck with my Fallout 3 10 Penny Tower video that I put out just last weekend, and that kind of flopped considering the amount of time that I put into it.
I asked for no pickle and they give me the McPickle Pounder. What the is this bullshit?
After that, Obsidian made Grounded. Now, if you want more information on Grounded, you're going to need to go to Mr. Hardcore Mode's channel, because I ain't playing no damn bug game.
What did he say before? A reminder to black artists out there. Oh man, he's thinking of me. Ah man. Who are looking for portfolio reviews or job advice. My DMs are open. I'm pretty sure his ass is open too.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
And then, of course, Pentiment, a well-received yet small video game. So, Obsidian's recent history is Grounded and Grounded 2, which aren't RPGs, Pentiment, which is a nice small side project, although not a mainstay or a very relevant one within the culture of Obsidian, and then their major undertakings are Avowed and Outer Worlds 2, which are the problems that they are. To say that these footnotes are anything comparable to the quiet kid getting straight B's from back then is nuts. And by the way, straight B's isn't a diss, it's very good, because they often had bugs and stuff like that because they were rushed, and that obviously inevitably impacted the experiences. So as far as the games themselves went, the quality of them, they did some great stuff, man. I bet that there's Obsidian fans out there that were happy anytime their name came up on the screen. Now it's Bethesda's turn under the scalpel, or the microscope, I guess. Their studios are actually old as shit, and these boys actually made and published more games than it even looks like. So I'll be skipping quite a few things, but I'll give you the bullet points. The Elder Scrolls began with Arena back in 1994, after they were making freaking sports games. Now, I didn't play any of these older Elder Scrolls games, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong in any of the following details. But as far as I'm aware, Arena was mostly a dungeon crawling type of game, but in an arena, like for gladiators. But then the developers kept adding more and more side stuff for players to do in between fights, and then while they play tested their own game, they realized that, the side stuff is more fun than the actual main stuff. This is something that they have retained throughout the years, even by accident, where they write a main story, but all the good shit is in the side quest lines and exploring. Anyway, they liked all this side stuff so much that in 1996, for the sequel, Elder Scrolls Daggerfall, they went nuts with ambition and created a massive open world where you could travel to various corners of Tamriel with thousands of towns and NPCs, fleshing it out more like an RPG experience. In order to do this, though, they had to use procedural generation, which resulted in a bunch of bugs, which also became a staple of Bethesda's games. Their next big Elder Scrolls would be Morrowind in 2000 2003, but between 96 and 2003, Bethesda was busy running itself into the ground by making some really stupid decisions with Elder Scrolls spin-off games that nobody wanted. In 1999, ZeniMax Media bought Bethesda, gave a young developer named Todd Howard, the legend himself, the keys to the studio and enough funding for one final game. They had to either make it or go down with the ship, and goddammit, Todd Howard may be the epitome of a washed developer, but facts are facts. The truth must be spoken, and the truth is that this man, this nerdy little dude, at the time, before the stupid leather jacket that he wears all the time now, was actually very passionate. And he knew some shit. So him and his little team of around 40 developers took all that money ZeniMax gave them and they poured everything into Morrowind. They didn't think about whatever was trending, they didn't think about, whatever the game journalists and commentators were saying. They kinda just made the game that they really wanted to make, no matter how weird. And that's how Morrowind was born. No more gigantic procedural world nonsense, no more restrictive actiony spin-off mindset. Instead, they handcrafted a smaller but very detailed bizarre alien world with giant mushrooms, ash storms, big-ass volcanoes, weird gods, and then on top of the weird gods there were even weirder gods, and then behind the weirder gods there were even weirder concepts like mantling of gods, such as a Nerevarine and shit. Bro, listen, there's a meme that I don't know if I can even say without YouTube flagging my video because it mentions drug use with the name of the drug, but there's this rumored legend that the guy who wrote a bunch of Morrowind lore, a legend by the name of Michael Kirkbride, went on a certain days-long journey into another place, and while he was at this other place, he wrote a bunch of Morrowind lore, and then when he hadn't shown up to work in days, his friends went to check in on him and took this picture. He was fine, by the way, he didn't die or anything. This meme is from the time before AI, so the picture is real, but I don't know if the story or the context is. Let's just say that I'd like to believe it is, because it's dope. But one way or another, doesn't even matter. The truth is that Morrowind is the true birthplace of Elder Scrolls as we know it now. That game established the amazing universe that people like me were still able to get lost in while playing Skyrim, despite Skyrim being a technically weaker game than Morrowind. A similar thing happens with Avowed too. I don't really like Avowed, you guys know this, but as I stated in my review, there's one very strong aspect of that game, which is the lore. It's all the world building from Pillars of Eternity 1, and for me, that just goes to show how important world building is for RPGs. You may not have the smoothest combat or exploration mechanics, you may not even have the best visuals, but if you got some fantastic, rich, deep, mysterious lore, and then you wrap it up with at least decent writing and tasteful presentation, you got yourself a solid goddamn RPG, which by the way, Avowed was not. Again, I don't like it very much. But the point I'm making is that the lore was so good that it still stood out to me in a relatively bad game. Anyway, Morrowind became a massive critical and commercial success. It put Bethesda's name on the map and it even appealed to the console crowd through Xbox. It saved Bethesda, made ZeniMax very happy, and began the legend of Todd the Howard. It also linked Bethesda up with Xbox. For example, Oblivion was used for a graphical showcase of the Xbox 360, etc. They began being buddies after that game. In 2006 came Oblivion, now armed with the great foundation of Morrowind. Now they just had to take it and improve it. Sadly, there were changes that happened during this era. In 2008 they made Fallout 3, which was another smash hit after they picked up the Fallout IP. They didn't do Fallout the way that it was, they adapted it to their style of RPG. Veteran players from Morrowind were already noticing a shift with these games. No big deal because the games were still solid, people were still happy, but there was something there, and when Skyrim released, that something was unavoidable. There was a standardization going on at Bethesda where they were getting lazier with their RPG elements. Skyrim still sold like hotcakes. I mean, hate it or not, for better or for worse, it became a piece of gaming history and culture, and your boy personally loves this game. I spent thousands of hours in it, but it wasn't even because it was a good RPG, it's because it hit lightning in a bottle when it comes to creating this world that you just want to live in, to fight trolls in, to fight bandits and dragons, to grow stronger, to get a house, then another, and another, to become the Thane of every city, to be regarded as the hero of legend, or to uncover mysteries in the deepest, darkest dungeons, to explore the lost cities of the Dwemer race, to become an agent of Nocturnal or a member of the Black Hand of Sithis, the Dread Father, among so many other things. Like, this was the appeal of Skyrim for me. It's the only way that I can explain its success, not the RPG depth. This rose concerns, but since the games were still good, Bethesda was still beloved. It's after Fallout 4 that things began to change the most, and it's by Fallout 76 that they became absolute clowns in the games industry. It's not that they weren't already getting clowned, they were, but there was that element. You guys get what I'm saying? There was that element where you could say, okay, fine, yes, they're buggy as f***, but damn it, I spent like 500 hours in the game and I didn't even notice it. I skipped work and I got fired from work because I couldn't tell that I was playing Skyrim. I was at work playing Skyrim at work. I was at Burger King serving burgers and I was playing Skyrim on the toaster oven. You get what I'm saying, fellas? There was that element there. But with Fallout 4, the concern grew bigger, and by Fallout 76, even the most hardcore fans, even the people who still were able to enjoy a Bethesda game despite the issues, backed out. The facade completely fell apart after that. Which is funny because the publishing side of Bethesda throughout all these years was actually doing great. They had Wolfenstein, Doom, Dishonored, Prey, Evil Within, and so people also started noticing that Bethesda is strongest without Bethesda, but that kind of went to shit soon after too. Basically the purchase from Xbox, I don't know, man. Either everything got worse on its own because they were already on a downward path, or the purchase from Xbox was like the Sonic Chew medallion, it just cursed everybody, which isn't even that crazy a thing to say, because which studio under Xbox has been thriving? Off the top of my head right now, I can't think of a single one. The majority of them certainly have not. Fallout 76 was such a massive disaster that it would be worthy of its own saga video in and of itself, but then Starfield comes along and it shows everyone exactly what they were afraid of after Fallout 4. That throughout all these years, all the concerns that they had, that they were voicing, were falling on deaf ears. When Fallout 4 came out, make no mistakes, yes, it was a commercial success, big time, but the concerns from people had never been louder. In fact, they were so loud that it was unavoidable. Still now, to this day, it's unavoidable to bring up Fallout 4 without a bunch of people talking about how much it sucks. You could tell that the standardization that was already coming from Elder Scrolls was now present and at a huge level in Fallout 4, and the strengths that composed Skyrim and allowed people to discount the standardization while still having fun with it were waning. The writing was worse, the application of the lore was worse, the presentation was worse, the exploration of the overworld, everything that made Skyrim good was worse too. Fallout 4 is one of the most polarizing worlds I've ever played in. There's so many areas that are just lame. They're not empty. There's a lot of garbage to see and places to enter, but they're just lame. Uninteresting. The dialogues were replaced with 4 goddamn buttons. Yes, but sarcastic. Yes, but with a question mark. And then no, but actually yes. That's it. The concept of finding an important NPC and having like 5-6 plus dialogue options, gone. The idea of different dialogue styled after different personalities, gone. The character has one mood throughout most of the game. It's only in the expansions that this changed a bit, but even then it doesn't matter because it's just the expansions, and it was still poorly done because it was limited. The leveling system was butchered, stats mattered far less, your special stats also mattered far less, forget about special speech checks, that shit was rare as and it wasn't even tailored to your character specs. It was just persuade boxes that you could pass if your charisma was high enough. I won't waste too much time here, but needless to say, Fallout 4 was a huge disappointment, and I say that as someone with like, I don't know, around 400 hours on it. I know it sounds stupid, I'm complaining, but I also spent so much time on the game. This, my friends, is because mods pretty much changed the game for Bethesda games. They are capable of making disappointing things be at least serviceable for you to pour in your own fantasies into the world. Every modern Bethesda game has benefited from modding, except for one, Starfield. See, all these issues I mentioned about Fallout 4, they weren't exactly all present in Starfield. Some were, others were not. For example, the dialogue wasn't the dialogue wheel anymore, it was an actual dialogue box with several options. But the problem is that everything else was worse. And then there were other new issues on top of that, like the lore, for example. I mean, I can't even can tell you anything interesting about the Starfield world. Terramorphs are kinda cool, but that's the easy shit, you know, mystery monsters that hunt humans. Ooh, oh, where do they come from? Oh, how do they show up in these faraway colonies? Huh? What made them? That stuff is easy. That aside, I don't care. It's lame. It's so lame, and so much of it was bad, like the exploration, which is dog shit in Starfield, because the planets are procedurally generated. It's hilarious that Bethesda went back to that awful idea after Daggerfall, and so all of this just creates this really weak experience that not even mods can save it, because modders don't want to waste time making mods for the game, since no matter what they add, it doesn't help make the game better. Add to this the fact that it took 8 years to make, plus add to the fact that Elder Scrolls 6 is still far away, Fallout 5 isn't even in the same universe, and essentially what you have on your hands is a studio that is dying because they're taking forever to make new games that are each worse than the one that came before. This is why layoffs and pressure from Xbox is important. It's because studios like Bethesda have grown complacent in their mediocrity, and studios like Obsidian have lost their sense of direction. The fact that the next game at Obsidian was meant to be an Avowed sequel, instead of just scrapping Avowed altogether and focusing on something else better, is really bad, guys. The fact that Bethesda has been and would continue to be comfortable not releasing a single Fallout video game for another goddamn 10 to 15 years, while the Fallout brand is currently on fire thanks to that shitty Amazon show, is really, really bad, guys. And I say that as someone that doesn't even want the damn show to influence the games, because you know that that's what's going to happen. What should be happening with the Fallout show is the video games should be getting adapted by the show. But instead, the show is shoving a bunch of new shit, changing a bunch of the old stuff, changing the core identity of Fallout, and I think what's going to happen is the fucking show is going to end up being the thing that gets adapted by the games next. And that's really, really, really bad. And so, between sitting here and watching it all burn down, and actually having someone like a CEO such as Asha Sharma stepping up and slapping some changes around, I guess I'd rather choose the slapping so that we can see if something better comes of it, because the direction is not good. But anyway, fellas, I've been rambling for a really long time now, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it here. Thank you very much for tuning into this big new update of how much the games industry is cooked. We'll be going over this whole thing going on with Fallout with more depth when we know more. There's also remasters that got announced, but for now, I'd like to just thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts below. Are you excited for the future of Fallout and Obsidian, or are you skeptical? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like so that I can eat, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.